know that feeling when you have to have a tough conversation with a parent, deliver critical feedback to a staff member, or unite a divided team? That knot in your stomach that says, I'm a great educator, but am I communicating this right? I've been there. Year after year, I'd write similar goals into my growth plan in different ways. Connection, crucial conversations, how to deal with difficult people, conflict resolution. Friends, that is the same struggle using different words. I'm Crystal Atkinson, and after more than 20 years of teaching and leading in public education, I've cracked the code on communication skills that matter most, and I'm sharing them all with you. Whether you're dealing with resistant staff, anxious parents, or complex community dynamics, this podcast will give you the strategies and confidence to handle it all. Together, we'll explore how to connect with the people who challenge you most, inspire your team to do their best work, and navigate conflict without losing sleep. Wouldn't that be nice? Because here's what I've learned. Leadership isn't just about vision and strategy. It's about the conversations that happen every single day. And those conversations, they can be taught, practiced, and mastered. Welcome to Vibrant Leadership for Educational Leaders. Let's transform the way you communicate. In this episode, I will share how I overcame my fight, flight, freeze response when it came to conflict and tough conversations. All three of those fight, flight, and freeze responses are hardwired into us. Every single human being will default to one of these in different situations. And I'm going to share some situations where I've experienced all three. But first, what did I do to overcome these so that my responses and my preparation would allow my brain to calm and not make matters worse than what they already were? Have you ever had an interaction with someone that you thought would be a regular conversation, not anticipating there would be any friction, only to be met with defensiveness that catches you off guard? How do you respond? Does your fight, flight, or freeze kick in? I know mine sure does. When I first entered into school administration, I had been a classroom teacher for years, student support teacher, and just finished a role where I was the school's lead literacy and numeracy consultant that just worked with the staff in the building. I thought everybody was just like me, and boy, was I wrong. So as a new administrator, I would bring an exciting new idea or solution to a problem that somebody had brought to me, to our staff. And when that initial response from the staff was defensiveness, I don't want to do this, questioning everything, all of the details picked apart, I just would sit there in shock, like, you wanted a solution. I brought a solution. What's happening here? And then I would have my leadership meetings with my principal and the superintendent, and both of them would be like, you just kind of learn to ignore it, or eventually you'll figure it out. You might come up with solutions. It just gets easier to deal with those. But nobody had any real strategies. And I was somebody that wanted a solution. I didn't just want luck or chance to solve my problem. I wanted to figure it out. So I ended up down this journey where I just kept asking, what do you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? What do you do when people are defensive? What do you do when people are angry? And I learned there are actually a lot of strategies out there. So consider this. Somebody's super defensive. What do you do? Do you instantly fight them? Do you go through all the reasons why they should do this, or this is what we're going to do, so you're just going to do it my way? Do you ignore it, put your head in the sand, pretend you're an ostrich, and just look the other way? Or do you completely freeze? Do you just look at them and think, I don't know what to say? I've done all three. So what if I told you there was another way you could respond that would de-escalate the situation? Would you pause and try it? Let's consider why we have the fight, flight, freeze response system. It's there to protect ourselves. We need to say that again. Our fight, flight, freeze response system is there to protect ourselves. However, communication is for the receiver. It's not about you, but about something deeper that they are processing. But what is that something? What has caused the unanticipated response in that person? That's where you need to press pause. Rather than allowing your fight, flight, or freeze response system, I want you to tell your brain, pause, and press your curiosity button. Once I figured out that I could pivot away from those responses my brainstem was hardwiring me to do, I had more control over the situation. I would tell myself, pause, press your curiosity button. Consider what fear has been triggered from the person you're communicating with. Okay? That curiosity button, it changed everything for me. When a staff member feels threatened, consider what their fear is and address that. And how do you know a staff member feels threatened? They're often really defensive. So when a staff member feels threatened and all of a sudden their guard goes up and they're throwing you lines that's telling you, oh, jeepers, they are being super defensive here and I didn't realize I was attacking them. What is their fear? For some people, it is a fear of not belonging. And that is often a dominant fear with teachers. Teachers need to know that they belong, that their voice is being heard, and that they matter. Really important for teachers. So when you bring an idea that perhaps takes some of their voice out of the solution, that is telling them that it doesn't matter whether they're there or not, you're going to do the thing. It tells them their voice doesn't matter because you've already made up your mind. Perhaps if it is a staff member who's really direct and you've hit a trigger with them, it could be that they are afraid they're being taken advantage of. So when everybody knows that direct person will get stuff done and that they can handle conflict, but you always rely on them without giving them a choice, they feel like they're being taken advantage of. So we need to consider what their fear is. If your staff member asks a lot of questions, they like details, they like to know processes, and then you come in with something that needs to happen, what fear does that person have? Likely it's that you're moving too fast. You haven't considered all of the possibilities. You haven't assured them that their work was thorough and was an important part of your decision that you've made. So what is their fear that is causing that reaction? Press pause and tell your brain, instead of the fight, flight, or freeze, we're going to press the curiosity button. We're going to ask the person or people in front of us more questions. And the more curious you get when they ask you a question, restate it. We've learned this strategy, and yet people still rarely lean into that. Restating their question is powerful. Ask them what solution they have for the obstacle that's in front of your staff. So that's a really interesting question, Mrs. Atkinson. What do you think would be the best next step. I always recommend to think in terms of the best next step if the problem is really big. When we have really big problems, we need to break them down. Our direct people are going to want to go forward as fast as possible, but our inquisitive people are going to want to move as slow as possible. So in order to build a bridge between those different styles, we need to lean into the next best step. We don't necessarily need an overhaul or a solution to the entire problem. Last episode, we talked about how the majority of teachers are generally steady, reliable team players. They make people around them feel good and they don't like change. And because they're such good team players, they catch us off guard when they are defensive. So if that's the group of people you're working with, and all of a sudden you have resistance, ask them, what about the way we were doing things did you really like? What was working really, really well? Once you figure that out, perhaps you can incorporate a way to keep that element into your solution moving forward while clearly articulating that we need to move forward because we have this obstacle, because we have this problem we need to solve. Lean in and press your curiosity button. Some people need time. Just as our kids at home, our students in our classrooms need warning that tomorrow this big thing is happening that's different than the way we've been doing business before, our adults, they also need those warnings. They also need that heads up. And when we provide that to our staff, when we provide that to our colleagues, what happens is we build trust in them. We build trust. And next episode, we're going to talk more about how you can build trust with different types of people, because we all need something that's fairly predictable. Just as when you see stripes on the side of an animal, you don't need to see the whole animal to know that it's a tiger. Just as you see spots on the side of another animal, you don't need to see the whole animal to know it's a leopard. We're able to determine what people need by how they respond, by how they move. And as your leader, it's your responsibility to start to unpack, what is it that the person in front of me needs? As you reflect on this episode, be sure to like, comment, share, and if it resonated with you and you wouldn't mind taking a brief moment, go wherever you've listened to this podcast and be sure to rate the show. That helps feed out the algorithm to let other people know that, hey, there's something here that's worth listening to. Share this with all of your other friends who are in educational leadership or something similar. These skills really are universal. And wherever you are on social media, let's connect. Let's carry out this conversation. And I'd love to know, what problems are you facing right now in your buildings? What sort of strategy are you looking for? Is it with a certain type of person? Is it with a vision that you have carrying forward? Let me know where you're at so that I can find ways to address it right here. So that's all for today, my friends. Be sure to go forward. Make today amazing. Your work makes a difference in the world around us.